Hello everyone and welcome back to the Little Quilter. Today we're going to continue work on the NorthWest quilt, and I've already done a little bit of work as you've seen. So I've made all of these blocks, which were fairly simple and straightforward to put together. So now I'm sure, per the usual in this quilt, we are about to chop this up into little bitty bits and do something completely unexpected with it. So let's go ahead and jump into this. And as always, if you guys want to know what quilt we're working on, it is the NorthWest quilt by Heck Yes Sew, and it is linked down below in case you're interested in doing this quilt pattern on your own. Definitely recommend it. It is a little challenging, I'm going to be honest, but I think if you pay attention, I think anybody can do it. And so far, even though it's not been quite perfect on my sewing and piecing, things are coming together. So let's see if I can finish this thing out. Okay, after much ado, I finally have this block done. So we're ready to put together another big block, which is so exciting to do. There is one block that I cut too small, and yes, these were not quite the size, but I remember on the other block that I did, I was a 1/4 of an inch short, and so what I did was go ahead and cut these all a 1/4 of an inch short. Basically my hope being that if this block is a 1/4 inch short and that block is a 1/4 inch short, it's going to make it look more consistent, and it's not going to look like I tried to make this one a 1/4 inch larger. So that part I think it is going to work out, and last time all of the side strips fit really well with that size. So I'm just going to stick with that, and we're going to go ahead and sew all of this block together, and we will have the second big block of this NorthWest quilt done. And then we're going to be like this close to getting it laid out. I am so excited. So let's go ahead and get this done. All right, everybody, we have finally finished this block, and I have these great, big, gorgeous blocks to show you. So now that's basically the 2 big blocks done, which is so exciting. I only have now one little sashing block to do, and it kind of looks like a log cabin-esque style. Add an economy block onto it, so I think it's going to be really fun, but also hopefully not too difficult to put together. Now, I will say this, because you guys know I've been struggling with this one a little bit all the way from the beginning because of these blocks right here. So this strip that I made that wasn't quite perfect, you know, it does show a little bit in this block. Now, most of them are honestly close enough that I don't think it's a big deal at all. And my tip for this, if you're struggling as well, I do have a tip where I think you could kind of alleviate it, and I didn't really even think about it until I had it done. So let me see this one. Yeah, I feel like this is the worst. So if I hold it up here, if you are really looking at it, I think you can see that these 2 on this side are definitely larger than these 2, right? And so I don't know that it's going to be super noticeable once it's on the quilt, but if you've had the same issue that I have had with this quilt, or you're worried that you may have the same issue, and I do think, again, with the overall picture of the quilt, also I think that these lines in between it really help to make this part forgiving for you, right? Because you're not exactly lining everything up. Are you saying that this is perfect? Absolutely not. But when looked at on a bed quilt, do you get the gist of it? Yes. Do you see it? Yes. You know, do you see the imperfections? Maybe if you look really, really closely. Are most people going to look really closely? Absolutely not. But it just gives you, it definitely gives you a little leeway whenever you make this block, because I feel like if you didn't have these, it would be very noticeable that you hadn't lined everything up quite exactly perfect. Now, what is my trick or my tip here is when you lay these blocks out, lay them out in your doubles and sit them next to each other, because I have a couple of other blocks. This one is not as bad, but again, this part right here is smaller. And so if I had this part right here, I could line it up with the smaller one, which I have to like, yeah, it's this side. So this is the smaller one. I don't know if I have enough hands for this here. I need a little board. So you can see these match a lot closer. And so that's what you really need to do, is kind of lay them out. And I think you could even stack them together and say, okay, the blue part here, which I think is the more noticeable of these. I know that some of the surrounding ones are not as noticeable, but I think because these are so close together, they're the ones that are more noticeable. So stacking each of these blocks on top of each other or one at a time so that you can sort of evaluate how close is the measurement. And that way you're a little bit more, you know, you're a little more determined in your layout, right? Rather than what I did, which is I just had a stack of them and I sewed them together back to back to back. I didn't look at them in the sense of how big was one, how small was one. I just cut them, stacked them, sewed them, and then sewed the next part on, right? And had I kind of known about that center block, I could have maybe looked at them a little bit more and been a little bit more methodical in how I pieced them. Again, this is if you're looking for more perfectionism, more perfect look, or if you've had a struggle with getting those pieces together, it just may help you to manage that mild hiccup along the way. Do I think I have a lovely block? Absolutely. Totally thrilled by it, because at the end of the day, this is a crazy, crazy block. It's like a little snowflake block, and I think it is so, so cool. And do I think the person that gets this quilt is really gonna notice this dramatic difference? Probably not. Also, I'm probably going to be doing an overall pattern, so I'm not going to be doing stitch in the ditch. I'm not going to be doing, you know, free motion on these areas because, you know, I think if you did that, I do think you could potentially accentuate some of those problems that you had, right? If things aren't quite lined up and you're doing something very geometric, you could have a problem, right? So it's sort of thinking ahead of how can I help to kind of hide these mess ups? How can I help myself to sort of manage the chaos that is quilting so that when it's done, you don't really notice it. And you know, just trying to be intentional in what you're doing. And I think that sometimes that can help. Had I thought of that, I probably would have done that, but it really just didn't even cross my mind that honestly, I just was like, well, at least I've got them somewhat done. So, you know, I think it looks good in the end, and I'm sure if you're working on this as well, yours is going to look beautiful. This is no way a deterrent. I think everybody should try this quilt. If you haven't done strip piecing, I think you should definitely try it. It's been very much a learning process for me and such a different quilting experience than from like an Elizabeth Hartman or a Laundry Basket Fabrics quilt. It's just so different. And I think that's good. I think it's good to stretch your boundaries and try different things and do different styles. It just helps us to be better quilters. It helps us to know what we like, what we don't like. I think it's great. So all of this to say that I hope you guys have enjoyed this. I am getting near the end. I am so excited. I've got this last big block. We just got one little block to go, and then we're gonna lay this thing out and we're gonna sew this thing together. Then I'm gonna have to finish the pas de deux quilt that I've been sort of just ignoring for a little bit from almost like a creator's block, and we're going to finish that and we're going to get this guy on the quilt frame and get going on it, as well as there's some other projects that I have got to finish before the end of the year. So let's go ahead and say that we'll see you next time. And don't forget to like, subscribe, comment down below, all of the YouTube thingies. I love hearing from you guys, and trust me, I'm doing my best to get videos out as much as I can among all of the other crazy things that I am being pulled in multiple directions. So have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next time on The Little Quilter. Thanks.